Remember what your life was like in the days of Punky Brewster and Saved by the Bell? Well, I do. I was getting my master's degree on film threat reviews. I'm Alan Ng. I'm with Zorianna Kit, and today we review Kid 90, now on Hulu. It stars Soleil Moon Frye. In fact, it's a documentary by Soleil Moon Frye, Punky Brewster, and she takes an intimate look at the young Hollywood talent, her peers of the 90s, and uses hundreds of hours of video and audio footage that she has to capture what life was like for her and her friends at that time. Directed by Soleil Moon Frye, stars Soleil Moon Frye, Mark Paul Gosselaar is in it, David Arquette. It's kind of basically if you were a star in the 90s, this was you. So watching it and listening to stories, I realized, wow, I'm really old. What are your feelings about Kid 90?
I really enjoyed watching this, but I know that I enjoyed it not because this was some fabulous, potentially award-winning documentary or something that was so insightful that I walked away with some incredible knowledge. It's exciting because it is video footage of famous people back in the 90s. That's what makes it so interesting. Like it's so awesome watching like Leonardo DiCaprio and his friends go to like Six Flags, or Jonathan Brandis from Sequest, or Charlie Sheen, or Balthazar Getty, Stephen Dorff, or all of these guys tripping on a mushroom trip, or smoking pot, or drinking. Like there's just a lot of excess partying, nothing like too dangerous. Like it's all fairly typical teenagery, but the fact that all of this is on camera and these people today, that's what makes it for an interesting watch.
What makes it even more interesting is that they're being videotaped on her handheld camera, and there's no internet, there's no social media. She's not posting it anywhere. So they're acting like basically teenagers. They're being real at this point. And to me, that is the most fascinating, because you are seeing them as who they are and not mugging it up for the camera or for publicity. And she very much so protects them at the same time. I'm sure if there's anything really bad, there's no question she wouldn't have put it in here. But it's very interesting. You see them, I wouldn't say warts and all, but you see them as people.
Yes, exactly. People that were not too much different from us in terms of what they were struggling with, or at least our protagonist. Soleil Moon Frye was quite open about her kind of struggles post Punky Brewster. I mean, she developed really early, and then she got a very public breast reduction surgery, which was on the cover of People magazine. She struggled finding a career, a legitimate career after Punky Brewster, moved to New York to try to do some theater. So that type of that was interesting. Also, she talked about losing her virginity, and coupled with voicemails and that she saved, diary entries that she read, and of course all that VHS footage. It made for a compelling sort of walk down memory lane where you can go like, oh yeah, like I kind of like, she's like, she had a crush on Johnny Depp, and or she'll play a voice message from Mark Wahlberg or somebody, and then you feel the teenage excitement of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he called, or oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm gonna see them. And so, take away the fame, I think everyone can relate to that type of teenage excitement or heartbreak or heart crushes. So it's not untouchable and unrelatable. It's rather, unexciting, but when they're famous people, it is of course very exciting. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's funny you say it's untouchable. I'm like, I appreciated her story, and I never want to say, wow, your life was boring, or your life I couldn't relate to. But at the same time, you know, again, when Punky Brewster and Saved by the Bell came out, I was literally getting my master's degree. You know, I'm that much older generation, and then also, they were, while teenagers were like, screaming at them, at their fame and stuff, like the Beatles, I'm just kind of sitting back going, okay, this is the next generation of young folk, the generation after the Brat Pack, basically.
Yeah.
And and then they're dealing with very deep and harsh problems that, quite frankly, I never really dealt with, such as drugs and fame. And it's very Beverly Hills 90210 type drama. And I'm like, wow, I am, this is not my world. I found it fascinating, but at a point there's like, what am I gonna do with this? I'm glad I learned more about her. I'm glad I learned more about what it was like being an actor, a young actor at that time. At the same time, it's like, wow, but I had my own problems, basically.
Well, yes. I mean, listen, I felt like, I stumbled upon a box of VHS tapes in someone's garage and put them in the player and was like, oh, wow, cool. Like, wow, okay, look at Stephen Dorff when he was, partying really hard. Or, oh, wait, there's Balthazar Getty. Like, look at him there. So it's not like it's not always weaved into this insightful context. Like, for example, she's got 4 kids and she was married and is now divorced, and none of that is addressed in the film. Not that it has to be. I mean, you definitely you make choices of how you want to present this, but the point is that she navigated fame, and a staggering amount of people in that documentary, 8 actually, committed suicide and never lived past a certain age. And and we do see her drunk and high and all that sort of stuff. And so, you do kind of wonder, well, why did she pull through and not those other people? Like, they were all very close. And how does someone like Punky Brewster escape that fate while hanging out with people who didn't? Like, there's no insight into how she survived while others did not.
Yeah, and to me, that was the most appealing, or the most insightful part of this documentary is this idea that Soleil has these lifelong friends, and they're starting to die one by one, and then you're dealing with this. She struggles through this notion of, well, why didn't I see the signs? What could I have done differently? And, that's where it becomes relatable, because we have situations, we have people in our lives like that who have either tried to or have committed suicide. And it's the same questions we have, is what didn't we see? What didn't we know? And what, this intense pressure that life gives us, that's universal, whether you're an actor or whether you're just, a working class person. There is that pressure there. And to me, that's where the real connection for me happened.
Yeah, but it wasn't fully explored. I mean, there was no. I guess what I'm trying to say is there wasn't much context given, like a bigger picture context, or a bigger picture context, or a more real world context. Because yes, we've all been teenagers. We've all, we've done things we shouldn't have, gotten drunk, partied too hard. Suicide, mental health is a big struggle, and very open now, much more acceptable to talk about. So and those are the things that make this documentary relatable to people beyond the fame level. What makes it interesting is the fame aspect, but what makes it relatable are these bigger issues that we've all faced at one point, or are facing. And I felt like that could have been made to hit home a little more, but I don't know how. We don't know, really.
I think a lot of it has to do with just the essential premise of the film. Soleil finds all of her videos of this monumental moment in her life, monumental years phase in her life, and she made a documentary about it. And so it wasn't about mental health. It wasn't about suicide. It wasn't about, it was basically, this was my life. These were my friends.
Yeah.
And this is what happened to us. And I'm presenting that to you in a documentary.
Yeah.
And so the deeper issues are going to get not as much weight or depth that you want it to, because, quite frankly, that's not what the documentary is about.
She wasn't famous, and she just pulled out these videos and said, like, if you went to your garage and pulled out 20 years worth of VHS tapes and said, I'm just going to present this to you on Hulu, like, no one's going to care. But
I have 10 years of photographs, 1,000 photos in my garage. And I'm like, well, I don't know that any of this would make a great documentary.
Yes, exactly. So it's only interesting because of the fact that she had all this footage of all these famous people, and we knew who she was. We knew the clean girl image of Punky Brewster, and when she's doing PSAs saying say no to drugs, and then cut to home video footage of her like throwing up, head in the toilet. Well, you just really see the one side of it's got this Tiger Beat, all these people were featured in Tiger Beat or Bob or whatever at one point, and so you sort of see the other side of Tiger Beat in her home videos.
I mean, to me that was the fascinating thing, because even as old as I am, I knew who Mark Paul Gosselaar was. I knew who Brian Austin Green was, David Arquette, the Dorff brothers. They were always in the tabloids. They were always getting into some kind of trouble, so to speak. And it's just, I think what I did appreciate about it, as much as I complain about it, is that they're very insightful about that time in their life. They're very introspective about what was going on, even though they couldn't see it as teens or as young adults. They certainly can look back at it now and have a healthy perspective on it.
Yeah, it was nice to see the closeness amongst those who remain today. What I did find interesting is that in the credits, Leonardo DiCaprio is listed as an executive producer, yet he's not a talking head. There is footage of him, not that much actually, but I thought it was interesting that he was not a part of it.
What documentary have you seen him in?
Unless it's about saving the earth and the environment or something like that. Then.
I get it. He's up for making a documentary. He's just not up for being in one.
Yeah.
So okay. So you found it insightful. You found it enjoyable. That period of time. We certainly knew everyone in this. So I'm kind of guessing maybe a 7.5 or an 8.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7.5, almost an 8, because to me, this documentary is a recommend. It's definitely something that I would recommend if you're familiar with this group of people, and you want to see this like slice of life glimpse into an era, and then kind of go, oh yeah, I remember what I was doing at that time. Now I know what Stephen Dorff, Brian Austin Green, and
they were friends.
I know what they were all doing at that time too. Cool. So it definitely a recommend. And also it's interesting to just watch the evolution of an actress herself and all the things that she went through during that time as well, the struggles, the highs and the lows. So 7.5, almost an 8. And I feel like for you the same thing. I feel like you're probably 7.5 or an 8 as well, because you knew all the people, you were interested in this, but it kind of is what it is. It is what it is. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 7. I found it interesting. It's a well produced documentary. It looks good. It flows well. It's just it's very niche. I'm just I kept thinking I'm just way too old for this. And I think there's a whole generation that's way too young for this too. So it fits if you're locked in. You were growing up in the '90s. There, this is definitely a must watch for that generation. It's just I'm not in that generation, and but I do appreciate what it was and what it had to say. So definitely a recommend.
The irony is that is that her claim to fame is Punky Brewster, but what is her current job? Doing a reboot of Punky Brewster. So it all kind of comes full circle, and so the release of this documentary there is a timeliness to it because
I'm sure that's intentional.
You can tune in to watch the reboot where she, of course, plays the mom of these young spunky kids now. So it's there. It's if you want to know what happened after she went to New York and did theater. Well, I don't know what happened then, but I do know that she came back to Punky Brewster ultimately.
All right. Well, with that, be sure to like, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of Kid 90. It's on Hulu. And with that, let's get out of here.